Let me go to a Bloomberg opinion essay. This is Andreas Kluth, formerly working with Handelsblatt, and this is a brilliant essay, and I just went to the fun part because it's Monday morning. Trump's right to criticize the cheapskates such as Germany. This goes to NATO budgeting for defense. The only theoretical answer is to less American protection is more European self-defense. Kluth is skeptical of that. Then he goes on to say the French and the Germans don't fully trust each other. The Italians trust neither of them. The Germans don't even trust themselves. Existential. Warsaw distrusts Berlin. Bucharest and Budapest distrust each other. People in the Balkans don't trust anybody. I mean, it's a joke, Rosalind, but it really shows the underlying tensions of this London meeting, doesn't it?
It does, and we're expecting a number of wild cards, as we wrote about on the weekend. It's not just President Trump for a change going into this meeting. It's Emmanuel Macron from France, who's called NATO brain dead. It's the Turkish leader, who in turn has called Macron brain dead. So there's lots of interesting language being thrown around, and put them all together in the room this week for a brief period north of London. You've got the potential for fireworks. But what I would say is that NATO has survived rough patches before. It's built amongst nations who have distrusted each other, who are very different kinds of regimes, who are ideologically very different. And the idea is it holds them together to avoid a repeat of the conflicts that we've seen over the past century, particularly since World War II. So it's survived these kind of existential questions before. Perhaps this is just another bout of it looking at itself, and the French have been critical over the years, so that's not that surprising.
Rosalind, we've got all of our troops in worldwide here for the NATO meetings, which I think is wonderful. I saw Derek Wallbank on earlier. Rosalind, how will Mr. Erdogan be greeted? I mean, it's absolutely a fascinating condition, isn't it?
It is, because there's criticism of him on two fronts. One is, of course, the fact he went into Syria without telling anybody first, really, and with, it seems, the okay from the US. The other thing is he's bought a Russian anti-missile defense system that's not compatible with NATO machinery, in fact, could be potentially used against it. So he's coming into that criticism. He's, of course, sniping publicly with Macron, but the reality is that there's no move to kick Turkey out of NATO, and there's no move by Erdogan to leave NATO. It's an essential ally for the NATO countries, and as much as they push at each other, that he's probably going to get away with it on both Russia and on Syria, because NATO knows they can't push him too far. They can't threaten to kick him out. They don't want him to be kicked out. So this is all language and noise this week, but unlikely to change the reality of the NATO membership.